Hi, welcome all of you once again to online lecture of BSc second year. In last lecture, we have learned about the third unit of the paper number 8, that is nothing but analysis of fertilizer and pesticide. In this, we have already learned about the definition of fertilizer and classification of fertilizer. The fertilizer is classified into various classes according to their origin and their element contents, and fertilizer is nothing but the compound which is used to increase the healthy growth of plant, or the that substance is known as a fertilizer. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the characteristics of good fertilizer and the analysis of some fertilizers. So let's start with the characteristics of good fertilizers. So let's see the characteristic of good fertilizer, or the ideal fertilizer, or which fertilizer is known as a good fertilizer when it possesses, or when they possesses the following properties or following characteristics. So the following are the characteristics of the good fertilizers. The first property of the or characteristic of the good fertilizer is it should supply at least one or more than one essential nutrient required for the normal growth of the plant or crop. So what is the first character? The first fertilizer should supply at least one or more than one essential nutrient required for the normal or healthy growth of the plant. So fertilizer must supply one or more than one essential nutrient required for the normal growth or healthy growth of the plant. The second characteristics of the fertilizer, good fertilizer, is that it should be in a suitable physical form or suitable for the application, that is in suitable granular form, so that it is uniformly distributed in the soil. So fertilizer must be in a suitable physical form or suitable for the application to the soil. Means what? It is in the suitable granular form. Due to what? What is the benefit of that? It is uniformly distributed in the soil. Then third type of the characteristic is that it should be easily soluble in water, because it is what the when it is easily soluble in water, and it is what transported to the all the parts of the plant or crop by means of the root. So it is what easily soluble in the water. It should be in a suitable chemical form, suitable for easy elimination by the plant root. So the uh, assimilation of the plant or absorption of the plant root. So it is in the suitable chemical form for the assimilation of the plant roots or absorption of the plant roots. So it is what the applicable for the all the parts, or it reaches to all the parts of the plant. So it should not be harmful and causes disease in the plants or crops. So it is non-phytotoxic or the non-injurious to the plants. So means what? After application of the fertilizer to the plant or to the soil, it does not harm the plant or the crop, or it does not what the any disease, or it not causes any disease to the plant after application of the fertilizer. So it should not have not react with the soil component, so it does not alter the soil component or does not react with the soil component, which what decreases the fertility of soil, or which what a disadvantage of the fertilizer if they possesses or they react with the soil component. The next seventh characteristic is that it should not change the pH of the soil. So after application of the fertilizer to the soil, it does not changes the pH of the soil. So it does not alter the pH of the soil, or the pH of the soil is remains as like the soil pH after the application of the fertilizer. It should not alter the texture of soil, so it does not changes the texture of soil, or it does not affect on the texture of soil, or it should not destroy beneficial flora and fauna of the soil. So uh, after the application of the uh, fertilizer, it does not affect the flora and fauna of the soil, or application of the fertilizer. The next one is the it should not be accumulated in the soil. So it does not accumulated in the soil, it get released from the soil. So it should be reasonably stable under ordinary conditions of storage and transport. So this is also the important characteristics of the fertilizer. It is important to for the transportation as well as the physical condition. There is a stability of the fertilizer. The next characteristic is it should not have obnoxious odor or irritating effect on the human system or skin. So it is non affectable on the human skin or the human system. Next characteristics of the good fertilizer is that it should be non inflammable, it not catches the fire, so it should not be non inflammable. It should be non corrosive. So uh, after application of the fertilizer, it not corroses the uh, aids by which we apply the fertilizer, so it is non corrosive. The next characteristic is that it should not causes loosening or the hardening of the soil after application. So it does not changes the texture of the soil, so it does not make the hard soil or the make the loose soil after the application of the fertilizer. So this is about the some characteristics of the fertilizer, that is good fertilizer. And next topic is that the analysis of uh, nitrogenous fertilizers by ordinarily Jallad's method, or the estimation of nitrogen from the fertilizer. That is what the nitrogenous fertilizer by means of the Jallad method. So Jallad method is used for the generally used for the estimation of the nitrogen present in the given nitrogenous compound, that is what the fertilizer. So what is the principle of the Jallal method? How by using Jallal method we can able to determine the amount of nitrogen present in the nitrogenous fertilizer. So the principle for that, basically the method is based on the digestion known weight of the nitrogenous fertilizer sample with a sufficient concentrated H2SO4 in the Jallal flask with a little uh, copper sulfate and the potassium sulfate crystal for 1 hour to that is what happen 1 hour. Then during the digestion process, the organic nitrogen or inorganic nitrogen is converted into ammonium sulfate. Then there is nothing but NH2 twice SO4. Then see how this nitrogen is get converted into ammonium sulfate. the fertilizer containing nitrogen plus H2SO4 concentrated in presence of K2SO4 and copper sulfate, heat and reflux will get the ammonium sulfate, that is nothing but NH4 twice SO4 plus H2 and CO2. After this conversion, that is after digestion, we will get the ammonium sulfate. This ammonium sulfate is then the copper sulfate crystal added acts as an catalyst, and the K2SO4 crystal added to help to reduce the reflux digestion temperature. After the complete digestion, the content of the Jalad flask are cooled and transformed to a volumetric flask and diluted to a known volume. After dilution, the known liquid of the diluted ammonium sulfate solution is transferred to a ammonium distillation set. So ammonia distillation set. A strong 50% of NaOH solution is added to the distillation flask containing the digest and heated slowly. During the process, the NH3 gas is liberated, and then see how this reaction occurs. The ammonium sulfate NH4 twice SO4 plus 2 NaOH will get the 2 NH3, that is ammonia is liberated, and the side product is the sodium sulfate and water. The liberated ammonia is completely passed into a conical flask containing known volume of standard 0.1 normal H2SO4 in excess. The ammonia is made to absorb by the known excess volume of standard H2SO4, and it's is further converted into ammonium sulfate as follows. So ammonia, two molecules of ammonia reacts with H2SO4 to give NH4 twice SO4, that is nothing but ammonium sulfate. The excess of standard H2SO4 left unreacted is back titrated with a standard 0.1 normal solution of sodium hydroxide, that is alkali. Using the phenolphthalein as indicator, from the burette reading we can come to know the volume of standard 0.1 normal H2SO4 left unreacted. Since we know the total volume of the standard H2SO4 added and also the volume of standard H2SO4 left, we can come to know the volume of standard H2SO4 actually consumed by the ammonia liberated from the known liquid of the digest. Then by the conversion factor or the formula, we can judge the amount of nitrogen present in the given nitrogenous fertilizer. The actual volume of the H2SO4 consumed by the known liquid of the digest is equal to the total volume of standard H2SO4 added minus volume of standard H2SO4 left unreacted. The volume of standard H2SO4 consumed depends on the amount of NH3 liberated, which in the form depends upon the amount of ammonium sulfate formed during the digestion, and this in turn further depends upon the amount of nitrogen present originally in the nitrogenous fertilizer. Therefore, from the volume of the standard H2SO4 consumed by the known liquid of the digest, we can calculate the percentage of nitrogen present in the nitrogenous fertilizer, which is equal to volume of H2SO4 into normality of H2SO4 into 14, that is conversion factor, into molecular weight into 100 divided by 1000 into molecular weight of sample of the nitrogenous fertilizer. And by using this formula, we can calculate the amount of that nitrogen present in the given nitrogenous fertilizer. So here what the how this nitrogenous fertilizer, the nitrogen from the nitrogenous fertilizer is get determined from the Jalad method. Ordinary Jalad method is used for the determining nitrogen present in the nitrogenous fertilizer. So once again I am repeating the principle of the Jalad method used for the estimation of the nitrogen present in the nitrogenous fertilizer. What is the principle? Basically, the method is based upon the digestion, and the given fertilizer is digested by taking known weight of the nitrogenous fertilizer sample with a that is in the sufficient concentrated H2SO4 in Jallas flask with little copper sulfate, and that is the potassium sulfate crystal. The potassium sulfate acts as a temperature controller, and copper sulfate acts as a catalyst for the reaction. Then this fertilizer is digested in presence of concentrated sulfuric acid to about 1 hour to half hour, 1.5 hour. During the digestion process, the organic nitrogen or the inorganic nitrogen in the present in the given compound is converted into ammonium sulfate. Then what is the reaction? That is nitrogen present in the fertilizer plus H2SO4 concentrated in presence of K2SO4 and CuSO4. Heat and reflux will get the ammonium sulfate, that is NH4 twice SO4 plus H2O plus CO2. Then this CuSO4 crystal added acts as a catalyst, and the K2SO4 crystal added helps to reduce the reflux digestion temperature. After the complete digestion, the content of the Jallat flask are cooled and transferred to a volumetric flask and diluted to the known volume. Then after a known aliquot of the diluted ammonium sulfate solution is taken and transferred to the ammonia distillation set A, and strong 50% NaOH solution is added to the distillation flask containing the digest and heated slowly. During this process, the NH3 gas is liberated, and this NH3 gas liberated is passed into the conical flask containing a known volume of standard 0.1 normal H2SO4 in excess, so that ammonia is get absorbed in the that is H2SO4, and after that some excess amount of the H2SO4 is get left unreacted. So this left unreacted H2SO4 is get back titrated by means of the NaOH, and from the reading we can get the amount of that ammonia liberated, and which is nothing but which is directly proportional to the amount of nitrogen present in the nitrogenous fertilizer. So with the reaction, NH4 twice SO4 digested plus 2 NaOH gives 2 molecules of the NH3 liberated, that is ammonia liberated, plus sodium sulfate Na2SO4 plus 2H2O. The liberated ammonia is completely passed into the conical flask containing known volume of the standard 0.1 normal H2SO4 in excess. The ammonia is made to absorb by the known excess of the standard H2SO4 and then further converted into ammonium sulfate. Then ammonium sulfate, that is 2 NH3 plus H2SO4 gives NH4 twice SO4. The excess standard H2SO4 left unreacted is back titrated with the standard 0.1 normal solution of NaOH, that is what the alkali. By using phenolphthalein as an indicator, we will get the end point. From the burette reading, we can come to know the volume of the standard 0.1 normal H2SO4 left unreacted. Since we know the total volume of standard H2SO4 added and also the volume of standard H2SO4 left unreacted, we can come to know the volume of standard H2SO4 actually consumed by the ammonia and liberated from the known liquid to digest. So with the formula we can determine the actual volume of dilute H2SO4 volume of the H2SO4 consumed by known liquid of the digest is equal to total volume of the standard H2SO4 added minus volume of standard H2SO4 left unreacted. The volume of the standard H2SO4 consumed depends upon the amount of NH3 liberated, so which in the form depends upon the amount of ammonium sulfate formed during the digestion, and this in turns further depends upon the amount of nitrogen present in originally in the nitrogenous fertilizers. Therefore, from the volume of the standard H2SO4 consumed by the known liquid of the digest, we can calculate the percentage of the nitrogen in nitrogenous fertilizer. That is nothing but percentage of nitrogen in nitrogenous fertilizer is equal to volume of H2SO4 into normality of H2SO4 into 14 into molecular weight into 100 divided by 1000 into weight of sample of nitrogenous fertilizer. So this is about the principle of the uh, Jallat method for the determination of nitrogen from the nitrogenous fertilizer, and remaining part of the that Jallat method we will see in the next lecture. If you have any queries regarding this topic, please comment your questions in YouTube comment box. I will try to answer. So thank you, thanks a lot, have a nice